So I did this thumbnail, and this will give me a chance to kind of clean it up, but in the original sketch, which you'll see in the video, I'll make sure it's in the replay, we kind of established the distance between our two wheels here, okay, like so. This is about 2.5 to 3 wheels right there. Sorry about that, guys. Really sorry about that on the YouTube. All right, and then the front clip like so. And I was talking about curves in a design and how, for me anyways, I like to try and find some sort of resolution with things. And just by extending the lines, oftentimes you're able to find those associations and that interplay that makes sense. So on the back here, here's this foil, for example, and there's some air handling on the side of the vehicle. All right, so I might be able to do something like this where now I have a definition for that. The rocker panel, which is this line at the bottom of the original sketch, was curved, which you don't really see that on a vehicle. So my initial thought was, okay, let me take some of that curve out, and I'm trying to be true to the initial design here for sure. All right, just placeholder on the wheels here. Yeah, sorry about that. I got a little carried away explaining things. So sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, just kind of working these together, and then maybe on the body side here, you know, as I pull these surfaces into each other, that's gonna help with the definition of some of this stuff. All right, I'm gonna add a little extension on the back here because I kind of want some cool fins. Maybe this is more of a mid-engine vehicle, you know, something like a Porsche Spider or something. But we'll put some obnoxious fin on the back. But even this line here, how it kind of, this curve shoots down, and the intersection of those things is really what's going to drive these shapes, okay? So even on the side here where these shapes intersect, I might go, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm really digging this graphic. Graphic just means like, here's a shape, okay? I'm really digging that. Maybe this line relates in like so. All right, so a little bit more than sketching today, a little bit of a design lesson for you in terms of how to create something a bit more harmonious. All right. And just kind of placeholder for the rims here. Okay, I'm glad you guys are good. So sorry about that. You're probably just screaming in chat, and obviously I can't hear. I think what I actually need for my desk is going to be my next purchase, is I need another monitor so I can put up those reference images or those things that I need to look at, but always make sure I can see the chat, right? That's the other thing I need to do. All right, so just continuing to extend some of these lines, right? And that's not to say everything has to be parallel or even collinear or related, but it does introduce a bit of harmony when you can find those like juicy connections between the elements that you're putting on a page. So just something for you to think about as you're designing something, all right? What's up, Molly? Hey. Oh, you guys know each other, cool. All right, so now I've kind of tweaked the design, and we have that. I was mentioning on the YouTube that I'm just gonna use this ellipse kind of method, blob method. I have a video on that on my YouTube. So just starting with the front cab here. These pens are really giving me grief today. I think I need a new set. I need a new set of pens so that... Why is my phone frozen? All right. New set of pens so I can get some juicy line work on. This is Sketchaday Live, Sunday. This is not a test. I know it's been rough, but it is not a test. There's just always technical difficulties. All right, I'm gonna do kind of a center line here. All right, just like that. Let's do another center line. And now I'm just gonna reference these two views, okay? Like so. Maybe even throw an axis down for my front wheel. it's something we can do. And I know that ellipse is right because here's my line that goes back in perspective like so. Okay. Now I can get my rocker panel. The body side here, probably a little bit high. Maybe I'll move this wheel up like so. Yeah, I don't know what's up with these pens today. It's always something. Like I've grabbed like, I swear I've grabbed like 10 pens and they're all kind of messed up. So my apologies. Even this one, so weird. They're all dried out. Okay, that one's not bad. Nope, spoke too soon. There we go. All right, so sketching that cab out. And now on the body side, just trying to make sure I capture this graphic, right? So looking at these shapes, seeing if I can come in and represent a bit of what that might be. I think this is one of those sketches that's gonna call for an overlay just because I keep blowing through these pens. What's good, Matthew? Hey. Yeah, I keep blowing through these pens and they are giving me grief, so. Alright, so kind of like we did here, I'm just gonna search out the form. Alright. Just keep it rough here for now. I know toward the back we had that fin, so I'm just gonna map that out like so. Boom. And now I have some sort of fin. I have to figure out on the inside of this what this looks like. So I'll just connect those together. And then we also had that curve, right? Now, this doesn't mean that, you know, this fin is exactly in line, in plane with that, because surface-wise, we're probably looking at something more like this. Right, so that's one of the things that makes cars so tricky, is oftentimes you find that in one view you get that harmonious thing, but in the other view you don't. All right, so this potentially or possibly is one of those cases where we may not get that view. Alright, so like I said, maybe this is some sort of mid-engine vehicle, so I'll just put fins on the back. It wasn't specified in the... Not that I asked, but it wasn't specified in the Discord what type of vehicle this is, so I'm just going to assume some sort of mid-engine vehicle. Alright, rear-wheel drive, mid-engine, you know, maybe Spider-esque type vehicle. Alright, so let's do the front clip here. On the front, I kind of had this area, which is what I'm doing now, just wrapping down, like so. Alright, so hopefully you can see that coming together, and to continue with having these forms relate together, maybe where the headlight terminates here, that's a good point to kind of create this harmonious relationship right in there. We'll just block that in because I am going to have to resketch this sketch. Maybe just a little bit of body kit stuff here on the front, like so. All right. Something like that. Let's get our dash in place. Just kind of keep it expressive, keep it loose. Alright, we got that little change in angle here. I'm going to change the trajectory of that just ever so slightly. Like so. Crayons don't dry out, everyone, says Sean. That is true. Crayons don't dry out, for sure. Alright, so hopefully you can see how we're building this together. Alright. I really like this song, by the way. I can share the playlist link. It's just a copyright-free lo-fi playlist I found on Spotify. So if you're interested, I can share that. But yeah, this actually is looking pretty good. So I need to do the wheel flares here. Alright, not wheel flares, but the wheel wells. Alright, meaning it's not going to be a perfect circle. So usually right about this point, I like to kind of tangent off like so. And then I've got this rare clip that I've got to incorporate here. Like so, boom, boom, boom. Alright, when in doubt, rough it out. That's how we do on sketch day. We are resketching submissions from you guys. I need to jump to the next sketch from Hector Silva. He's gonna miss out on that because I think he's got a conflict here in just a sec, but he can catch the replay. It's all good. Alright. So now we just kind of have to decide, you know, if it's maybe more of a Japanese vehicle, we've got more angular treatment. If it's something else, then just making sure that, you know, there's some harmony here in this whole area. But I can figure that out in the overlay. Alright. So first sketch that you guys missed out on, then we refined it. Here's my perspective version, and now let's do our final approach. Let's land this plane. This is Sketch Day live, Sunday, May 3. Hope you guys are staying safe and being happy, all that good stuff. If this is your first time, hit subscribe, turn on alerts, so you don't miss when we go live, alright? So one more time. Oh yeah, I finally got a juicy one. I was like, I don't know what's happening, if it's the paper or something else, but man, it's kind of struggling with those pens for a minute. Alright, so just working to pull out some of this initial kind of form idea that we had. You know, this is our guide for how we treat the rest of the sketch, so kind of important to make sure you hit that, get it correct, all that good stuff. Alright, let's keep the rims simple. I'm not gonna do the black stuff just yet, unless we have time. I feel like the first sketch on the streams is usually like the warm-up sketch and everything goes faster, so don't worry if you guys are like, man, it's been taking forever on this one. Usually it's kind of a warm-up, so. Alright. Oh yeah, something like that. Boom. Okay, so that's enough for our side view, and now I'm gonna do, actually looking at this, I wanna make some other changes, but we'll leave it there for now. So now I will resketch this view that we had. Remember, with resketching, it's an opportunity for you to kind of tweak things, fix them if you want. Okay. So what I try to do is just keep it loose, keep it fresh. Don't trace, but resketch. All right. Find those connections that make sense for your drawing. Alright, something like that. Let's see, Tom says it looks like a car from Rocket League. Yeah, I haven't played Rocket League in a minute, but I can totally see that. I guess we're always influenced by something. It does kind of have a short snout to it. Alright, but again, opportunity to change things just by resketching. Okay, so even here, you know, I found a better resolution to this front clip, I think. Alright, something like that. Just Just a little bit of the interior of the vehicle, just hinting at it, not really committing to that design. But through the use of silhouettes, we can suggest seats or whatever elements are important to the vehicle. This is Sketch Day Live. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday, all of that good stuff. I might steal a little bit from the Audi R8 here. So I like the idea of maybe some sort of carbon fiber rear. Alright, so maybe this back portion has a different color break, all of that good stuff. But all these lines, like I said, pulling from this orthographic view to try and translate into this view, okay? And that took 3, yeah, this is the third, so 3 overlays is kind of what this is taken. But like I always say, when in doubt, rough it out, light until you get it right. I used to think whenever I would see sketches from like people that were really talented, it's like, man, they nailed that in one shot. But the truth is, a lot of times it takes many attempts to get that final sketch that looks decent. So here I have drawn 2 ellipses, and rather than drawing my wheels completely flush, like I said, those are placeholders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't tell anyone that this one has 7 and this one has 8, okay? Another trick there, but a lot of times, you know, just to help with the dynamic of the sketch, I'll go ahead and do a secondary ellipse on the inside, a little bit smaller, pull it in, and then now we have a more 3-dimensional presentation of these rims. All right. Even things like tying in this body line here to the back, try and think about, okay, how am I resolving these elements in my form or my design or whatever it is you're doing? All an important part of the process. I should mention, because some of you have asked in the past, if you do want to contribute, there are links in the video frame and the video description. So paypal.me/sketchday, or you can sign up to be a Patreon. That's another great way to support what we're doing. There's also Venmo, or better yet, if you want to just get something from the store, that's another great way to kind of support what we're doing. All right, so there is my perspective view sketch of the car real quick. Just to remind you guys what we're working with here. That's the original. I've made a few changes, but tried to incorporate this air handling on the side, but also tie into the foil, resolve some of these curves so they're not just waves, okay? And then I'll go ahead and, it looks like we have some fins on the front here. I'll go ahead and incorporate those in as well, all right? So there's fins on the front. Let's make sure I capture a few fins here. Like so. And whenever I do these resketches, I'm trying to respect the original design intent, so hopefully I'm not completely butchering this too much as we resketch and show you a few things I would have done differently. Alright, Sketch Day Live, once again, thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are being safe, smart, and all that good stuff. Alright, so the body side's a little bit short, but whatever, let's roll with it, guys. Let's keep moving here. What I mean is, if I were to take this and then, let's see, 1, 2, yeah, it's more like 2, so this wheel is kind of pushed in a little bit, but don't tell anyone. Alright, on the front, let's just do some little feature here. Alright, maybe that's an intake on the top for our mid-engine crazy. We'll just say it's a Hot Wheels car instead of a real car. But maybe that's an intake that ties in or something. Thank you, Roshan. Roshan says, loving those lines. Thank you. Too kind. If you haven't followed him yet, check him out on YouTube. Just search for the name Roshan Hakim and you will find all this good stuff. Okay, so I need votes on color for this one. While you're doing that, I'm gonna look at the next sketch I'm gonna do here. I think I'll do Hector's, and it's a Michael Graves Peppermill by Alessi. So I'll be doing that, but let me know color-wise what you want to see. Here's my markers that I'm working with. So let me know what challenge you want to give me. One color for the vehicle, or I guess two colors for the vehicle, because we have that front and back section. So let me know in the chat what you think. Tom is asking, did I learn clay modeling at GM? I didn't learn it, but I was exposed to it, so I kind of... Ooh, a black car. That'd be interesting. Actually, I could do that. Should we do black? Like, really black? Dark? That would be hard to do. But I would have to do a secondary color in the background to kind of help it. Should we do black, purple, light blue, lime green, and black? Black seems like a challenge. I've done yellow before, Roshan, so I think I'm gonna give myself the challenge of black. But since we're using neutrals, I'm going to, and this could be a colossal failure, but because I love you, I'm gonna try it. So I'm gonna jump to my Copics here, and let's use, let me see, do I have, pardon me, I'm gonna use all these neutral grays. All these neutral gray Copics, and for some reason I have multiples of them, but let's keep pushing through. Alright, so neutral gray, 5, 8, 10, 7. That should be enough to start. I probably need the 3 and the 1 for some highlights. Alright, let's do a black car. Let's do it. Let's do the rear clip of the car, this back section. I'll do that in red or something. Alright, so whenever I'm doing a car, I like to think of the lighting situation. Okay, so if it's being lit from this side, it's gonna have a different appearance than if it's being lit from the back. So I'm gonna light it from this side, but to start, I like to kind of map out with my marker where my highlights will be, and so forth. So if this is an upward facing surface, for example, that transitions up, then I like to kind of block that out. And using these lines, I can determine where I need to put my highlights and stuff. Yes, the Copics are out. Here, for example, I'm gonna have a nice light spot, okay, because it's an upward facing surface. Same thing here, it's kind of upward facing as well. This is gonna be really dark right under here. And then from the floor itself, we're gonna have some reflected light. So that's why I stopped short right there. This will be dark and then light. So think about the way your surfaces are facing, and that's gonna help you determine how to light the scene. Now, about halfway down the vehicle here, okay, I'm gonna kind of switch because I'll likely have a secondary light source, so primary, secondary. That's how I'm thinking of things. All right. So that means that I'm not only thinking of the primary source, and the car itself is gonna have some shape to it. So about halfway here, let's see, that's gonna be light. I'm gonna have a little bit of dark right there, and then light. And you'll notice I'm using my neutral gray 3, and part of the reason for that is I want to make sure I can work light as I'm mapping out these highlights and these areas, so that I don't go too dark. Because if I go too dark, it's a lot harder to fix than if I just start with some nice light tones. Just get these wheel wells shaded in a little bit here. I gotta remind myself though, on the back side of the vehicle, I do want to do red. So let me just grab a quick red marker here, kind of put my stake in the ground, so to speak, figuratively speaking. And that way at least I just know what I'm anticipating doing. Sometimes I'll even just hit the area with a little bit of pink, but in this case, I'll just outline it. Like so. This is the tail of the vehicle. I want it to be, and maybe it actually just does come up to the top here a little bit, the red. So we'll have the red kind of wrapping this back section. That's what I meant by borrowing from the Audi R8 a little bit. Right through there. Okay, so at least that way I've put a stake in the ground. All right, so back to black, which is admittedly a little nerve-wracking. It's always hard to go super dark when you're doing marker renderings. All right. So now I'm gonna start working on things like reflections, or if there's a surface that's facing the side of the scene, right? And this is about pulling in principles of lighting surfaces like cylinders where you have a shadow core and so forth, but on a larger scale, you're dealing with reflections, right? So this is the flat side of the wheel flare, or you could even argue that it's part of the tire, but just mapping that in, placing this little gray bit in as well, right through there, like so, something like that. All right, a lot of this you kind of learn by just looking at vehicles in real life and seeing how the scene is kind of lit. And that really just helps inform. And that's why I believe in drawing from observation as well as drawing from imagination. When you sit and look at something, you're able to kind of study it and then pull from that memory as you're trying to sketch or draw the real thing. All right. I don't think I've even used this neutral gray Copic before, honestly. Usually I'm using a cool gray, but I wanted to try something a little different. The neutral gray just lacks a bit of the blue tone that you kind of see in Copic markers, at least the cool gray Copic markers. So one thing I've found useful with markers is just to commit to it, be expressive, right? Don't be afraid to move quickly with those markers as you're shading, all right? And remember, there's quite literally always a fix. Sometimes that fix involves starting over, sadly, but usually you don't have to, right? Usually I found that you don't have to. So if you can give yourself the room to mess up and creatively figure out a way to either trick the viewer or adapt, like inherently that helps the aesthetic of the sketch you're producing. So it also helps me just relax when I tell myself, you know what, it's okay. If I mess up, it's a part of the process. My sketch doesn't have to be perfect. All right. Let's see, Ilya, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Ilya is asking, when do you use my wrist and when do I use my shoulder? If there's a curve, so I'll give you an example here, something like on the top of the vehicle, I'll use my wrist. But I do try, like in this case, the curve is a little bit longer, so I'm using my elbow at this point, right there. I'm leaving this spot intentionally light because I know I'm gonna need some blending happening there. But if I can reasonably manage the curve that I'm shading, then I will use my wrist. If it's a bigger sweep, then I'll use my shoulder. But I do believe a lot of that comes with experience. So that's something you'll kind of just have to decide for yourself. But as a rule of thumb or general guidelines I believe are meant to be broken. So bottom line is, it just depends on what works for you. We have a dry marker. Guys. I probably didn't cap it right, so this one will have to go to the marker hospital and I'll have to fix it. Thankfully though, I've got backup neutral 7s that are not dried up. So this is now a neutral gray 7. All right. I'm just building up these values as we go. And having a range of values for your markers, I think, is important if you are using markers to create your sketch. I used to be really afraid of contrast and just committing, but that's where you get that bold presentation that's just emotionally engaging, interesting, compelling. It just draws you in as a viewer, all of that good stuff. I feel like this sketch is taking way too long, but I think it's going to look cool, so I'll allow it. This is Sketch A Day Live. Thanks for joining. I'm Spencer. Got some friends here. Thanks for tuning in as well to my sketch presentation. I am resketching sketches submitted by you guys, so thank you for those submissions. In this case, to the Discord. We have a Discord. That link should be in the video description, so you can check that out. We are rendering or coloring a black car. Alright, so that's what I'm doing here. And yes, Tim is right. With Copics, you can refill them, which is nice. I have tons of inks. As some of you know, Tom probably knows, but these are some of the inks that I have for my Copics, so I just have to grab my, let's see, N7 ink here. It hasn't even been opened yet, but I'll just grab that, touch up the marker after the stream, and it'll be like having a brand new marker, which is pretty cool. So, yes, that's one of the reasons I love Copic markers is, oops, that was a 30%, but you can refill them, so super nice. So again, just remember, if you are working with markers, work light until you get it right. Okay? That's because it's a lot easier to go darker with your markers than it is to try and go lighter with those markers, all right? All right, so we're just building values. Keep going here. Yes, Tom, it's more than 200. It's probably $300-400 right there, for sure. But thank you to your support, for all of you. Seriously, I've had some awesome contributions in the past, which has totally helped me acquire some of those. All right, so we'll just keep going here, building up. I feel like there's a little too many white spots on the car because we want to get to the point where it is black. All right, and with the black car, you're going to get some of the sky reflection as well as the ground, so I am trying to be sensitive to that as I fill in here. But I do know there are some spots that I do want to be black, or at least very close to black. So I have this sketch marker here. I've also got a neutral gray 9 that I can use, which is not quite black, but it's close enough. And now I can start to get the contrast that I want, where I want it, and so forth. But yeah, black's really hard, so I appreciate the challenge, guys. Man, maybe I'll only get to 3 of these today, but I think the other ones I won't use as much marker or be as detailed. Plus I did like 3 overlays of this one. Alright, so this is the neutral gray 9, N9, okay? So we're close to black, but not quite, and it gives me a chance to refine, get contrast where I need it, right? Sometimes when you think black, you're like, oh, well, I should start with black. No, you want to start with your lightest lights and go to your darkest darks, all right? You need that wiggle room to blend your colors, tones, and all that good stuff, and make sure that the form still reads. Super important. So in the body side here, I may skip a few lines, things like that, introduce some jagged edges, and that's really just about trying to convey that there are things reflecting. Actually, I'm going to shade this in solid, maybe just as a panel, but there are things being reflected into the side of the vehicle, okay, that are going to cause those aberrations, or you might call them artifacts in the side. But by starting light, gives me a chance to establish where things go without jumping all the way into black. Isn't white harder to draw because you can't go lighter than white? Yes. If you want me to do something white, I could probably do that either this week on the channel or on another live. But you're right, white is challenging as well. White and black are challenging for their own reasons, but certainly not impossible to do. With white, you just have to take a little bit different approach, but totally doable. This is Sketch Day Live. Thanks for joining. I just started. I feel like every show I'm saying what Netflix show I've been watching, but I just started Waco. That's an interesting one. If you guys haven't seen it, just using a pen here to clean up. But yeah, I just started watching that one. It's kind of intense too. Maybe I just like intense shows on Netflix. Yeah, I'm not sure with this light if I wanted to. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep that as a ledge, like a light catching edge. I'll refine that with a little bit of white pencil. And now for the front clip, or the hood rather. Just darken this up. Any tips for how to sketch the light source in headlights? Photoshop, that's my tip. No, you need opaque inks to do that. So I could, let me think about this. Yeah, I could just shade over this if I wanted to, because I have enough opaque inks. And I'll show you how to brighten that up as well. I will post the final sketch in the Google Drive. You guys can check that out, as well as the recap. So if you missed this, you missed the beginning, you have questions, there will be a recap segment for this guy that you guys will be able to check out. All right. So don't worry, I got you. All right. Okay, so we're getting pretty dark on this now. You know, we have some light catching surfaces here on the side. I'm not super happy with this. I gotta figure out a way to clean it up just a little bit. But we'll start with just a dark neutral, continuing in the series of neutral grays. I swear I had an N10. Maybe it got away from, oh, there it is. Neutral gray 10. All right, so maybe something like this, horizon in there. Okay, something like that. And this isn't quite black, but it's dark enough that it gives me a little bit of a wiggle room if I need to go absolutely darker. I have my Copic Special Black. I've got India ink pens, all sorts of ways to just push that contrast just a little bit more. So that's why I like it. And you know, even in some of these reflective areas here, we'll also bring in a bit of opaque white as well to kind of help out. But yeah, just making sure we get shadow where we need it and so forth. Sorry if I sound funny, by the way, my mustache keeps tickling me because it's a little bit long and I forgot to trim today, so I'm like constantly having an itch right now, or a little bit of a tickle. Just a little tickle. So Sketch Day Live, thanks for joining once again. We are sketching and rendering this vehicle in black as requested by you guys. Thanks for the challenge as always. I feel like you guys keep me on my toes, like you make me do the things I'm not the most comfortable with. So I appreciate that. If this is your first time, be sure to hit subscribe, turn on alerts. Check it out. We go live 3 times a week now on Sketch Day. Sometimes on other channels too. I've done some stuff for Adobe. I don't know if you guys caught that this week, but I did some interior design stuff with Adobe using Photoshop. So if you're looking for something a little different, I can share that link a little bit later. Just remind me. Or if you guys have the link, just post it up in the chat so everyone can see. But that was super fun. In any case, subscribe, turn on alerts, and you won't miss the show. If you want to participate on a deeper level, hit up patreon.com/sketchaday. That is where you can get ahead of the curve, so to speak. And if you want to have your suggestions implemented, join us for the pre-show, all that good stuff, that's the place to be. And that's patreon.com/sketchaday. Received a lovely note from Matthew. He's been following me for years and mentioned that he felt like it was time to pitch in. So much appreciated. Not required, but certainly appreciated, especially now in these somewhat uncertain times. So I'm just using this black to kind of help enhance reflections where I need it. And then I'll just work on the blend here, going back. By going back, I mean on the far side of the vehicle. As it is black. I keep saying it's black as if my saying it will make it more black. But I just got to do the work and show you guys how it's done, or how I do it. I don't think I've actually rendered a black vehicle, so this is a bit of experimentation on my part, but when you understand the tools enough, it gets a lot easier to just kind of do these things. All right. So now I got to get this backside in red, and then we'll finish up the rest here. All right. How long have I been designing and drawing stuff like this? About 15 years. Let's see, 2006, 14 years. So about 14 years now. That's how long I've been designing stuff. I've done stuff for a lot of different clients. Right now, I just freelance. I do illustration, I teach. I will be rolling out, I feel like the last 4 streams I've said this, but I will be rolling out tutoring options. So if that's something you're interested in or would like to do, then you'll at least have some transparency on how I do that and, you know, what that would take. So that's something else I do. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 13 years now. 13, 14 years. And I love it. I mean, I do a lot more than just draw pictures. I actually have designed apps, done videos, illustrations, done art pieces for clients. It's all over the place. I consider myself actually more of a creative facilitator than an industrial designer in the traditional sense. Which I know maybe sounds a little bit pretentious. So we've got our first second looks like comment of the day. I just think those are funny because everything looks like something. Anyhow. But yeah, I consider myself more of a creative facilitator than I do an industrial designer in a traditional sense, just because I do so many things and I enjoy doing so many things. It's hard to just pick one thing and say, yeah, I design toilet paper roll holders or whatever. It's not super fun to me, so I try to keep myself open to different opportunities, doing different things, but drawing is kind of my go-to thing that I do. Thank you, Inkwell. Much appreciated. Inkwell says, looks good. I'm trying, man. I mean, fundamentally, I think I messed up on some things on the sketch. That's another thing I'm trying to embrace a bit more of, in full transparency for you guys. I don't want to create the impression that the stuff I do is meant to be perfect or like pristine. I'm not in that business. It's, hey, how can we work through understanding how to draw things and show those concepts. Carl is asking, do I have a portfolio online? Yes and no. I have work samples on Behance that you can check out, but as far as projects go, a lot of them are still under NDA. So if I'm working with a potential client, I'll have them engage with me on a personal level, and then I'll share that work in confidence. Maybe I should say that, maybe I shouldn't, but so then yeah, I'll share that work, and then that way they can have an understanding of what I do. But yeah, check out Behance. I am working on, I shouldn't say I am working on it. My intention is to have my actual portfolio website up that's password protected. I'll just say sometime in the near future. But these things take time, as you know. So we'll see. I think on this front clip, I don't know what this area is necessarily, but I do want to tie in some red somehow, front to back. So just hitting that with some red there. Maybe the interior we could hit with red as well. Red seats, that kind of thing. Thanks for joining me on Sketch Day Live. I am Spencer. I love drawing. Been doing it for a while. Hit subscribe, turn on alerts if you enjoy this. If you hate it, keep it to yourself. Just kidding. All comments welcome. I'm always looking for opportunities to improve. Had a great chat with a fan over Instagram about how to store markers. That was interesting this week. You know, I've been doing this for a while, so I kind of had my way of doing it, and it was apparently upsetting that I did it my way. upsetting enough to message me. So, I learned some interesting stuff. Maybe that's why my N7 marker dried up. Probably not, because I store them horizontally, but the discussion was about whether you store the markers horizontally or vertically, what the best way to do that is, and why. But I haven't had too many issues. More importantly for me, it was about keeping them in an airtight container. That seems to help the most for me. Alright, so just on the outline here, particularly away from the light source, a little bit of a darker line if there's overlaps, things like that. This is a Pitt brush pen. I really like them. Super juicy. Just really great pen. And it has a brush tip, so it means that I can be expressive with my stroke if I need to be. Really great for highlights and reflections, but outlines as well, if you need to push those values, right? They do make them with a medium tip and a broad tip as well. I do need to, I'm coming up with this like massive to-do list, so hopefully I can get through this week, but I do need to update my website, particularly the stuff I use section, because that's where I have things like this brush pen, and I can talk a little bit about that more. But I definitely need to update that with some juicy information on why I like them, what I use them for, and where you guys can find them. Once again, a great way to support the page. That's sketchaday.com/stuff. It's all about the stuff I use. I even talk about the cameras and the setup in the studio. So if you're looking to get into streaming of any kind, you'll kind of know what I use. Those are affiliate links, just full disclosure. So again, if you do decide to get some of that stuff, if you use those links, it totally helps us here. All right. I just wanted to add some cool lighting effect here on the cab itself. I'll blend with some gray in the middle here, like so. Yeah, black was a tough challenge, guys, I will say. So thank you. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let me think here. This is a little bit off in the front. See if I can fix that with maybe a little bit of shadow under this front clip. That looks a lot better. Just kind of sketching a little bit here. I haven't even gotten to the white pen to really make things pop yet, so I think we're in pretty good shape. Have you ever thought about doing a design podcast? Yes. And if my friend Saul is watching, I'm so sorry. I do have an interview episode for Sketchaday coming back, where I will be trying to reach out to some friends and interviewing them. So those I'll make available as video on the YouTube, but also for those interested, I can do an audio version of some sort. All right, so this is where we're gonna make those lights pop just a little bit. All right. So just putting in those reflections just to help out. But yeah, I've thought about doing a podcast. I feel like everyone has a podcast though, so if I'm going to do it, I would definitely want it to be somewhat different. I don't know what that looks like necessarily. So far, I'm thinking something along the lines of, hey, talk about your process and your journey into design and maybe tell us a little bit about what you do. Not so much a demo, but just talk through that process. Okay, just getting some treads on the tires here. I need to mute this, meaning tone it down. I can do that with some marker on top. So not a big deal. And it's not like realistic real tread in the sense that this is exactly the tread you would find on a vehicle, but more so, here's something that looks tread-like so that people make that association. So these white pens, I really do enjoy using them. I think you can overdo it. I've seen drawings where it is a bit overdone, but if you're careful and judicious about it, it can really help your drawings just pop, I think, that much more. I do want to work on a little bit of the blend right in this wheel flare, so I'm going to take a 3 and 5, and then we're going to hit turbo speed and get the other sketches done. Hopefully you're enjoying the show, guys. Thanks so much for being here. This is fun, as always. Normally we do Sci-Fi Sunday, but I wanted to take a little bit of a break from doing sci-fi stuff, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this little departure. Alright, so it's a neutral 8, so let me take a 7, kind of fill in a little bit here, and I want to take a 6, finish out this blend. Kind of blend that out. Alcohol, the Copic markers, they're alcohol based, so it's pretty easy to kind of blend things if you're careful and you know what you're doing. Just kind of wake up that ink. You may have noticed I was kind of scrubbing the paper a little bit. That's just to get the pigment that was on the paper to kind of reactivate, dissolved a little bit, so that you can come back and just make that blend. Chart packs are another great marker that blends well. You can find all that information on sketchaday.com/stuff. That's where you want to be if you want to know about all the tools and things that I use to create my sketches. I guess for this episode I need to post the befores and afters, so I'll make sure I try and do that when I do post these sketches. And you can find them on the Google Drive. That's where you'll want to go, okay? And that link is in the video description if you're trying to find it. Alright, almost there, guys. Black is really hard, so I hope you understand. You asked for it, though. Y'all asked for it. I don't know, maybe I need to just do more black renderings, and then I'll be ready for the next time you're like, do a black teddy bear or something. Thanks for your patience. Hopefully this process makes sense. If you miss something or you're trying to do it for yourself, you can always catch the replays of Sketch-A-Day Live. It's a thing I'm doing for you guys now. See, Tom says, maybe you could talk about the industrial design industry and discuss where you think design's going. Yeah, I could do that. If that's something you're really interested in, let me know, for real. Obviously, I do a lot of different things on the YouTube here. This last week, we 3D printed and prototyped some marker stands. This next week, I don't know if you remember the eyeglass project, but I'm going to be... I wanted to challenge myself a little bit in CAD, so I'm going to make a version of those and make it so I can put them on my face. So watch out for that. That'll be a part of the video content. So yeah, I'm trying to mix things up a little bit, but also make it so that there's always that traditional good stuff that you guys like that'll be available here on the channel. So don't worry, none of that's going away. We're just expanding. Sketch a black hole. Apparently YouTube thinks that saying black in a live stream is worthy of censorship, so I had to just approve Tom's comment about a black hole. Although that's not to say comments on YouTube can be vile. Like, holy crap, I've encountered a lot of stuff, man. If I were to give you guys a glimpse into my comments, you'd be like, holy crap, what? People say that stuff? I'd be like, yeah. People do say those things about me. I've been called many things, friends. Many, many things. All right. I think we're in a pretty good spot here, so probably one of those sketches I could spend a ton more time on, but we'll call it good here. This one took way too long, but I certainly had fun. So once again, thank you for the suggestions, and hopefully you learned a thing or two. I want to do some like texture thing on this back panel, so let's just put a series of white dots here. That's why I said I was like borrowing from the Audi R8 a little bit, maybe just in that little area. Tom says they just insecure. Maybe so. Maybe so. But yeah, I've seen many a vile comment in my internet experiences as I've done this stuff, so it's certainly been interesting. Sketch-A-Day Live, thanks for joining, being a part of the stream. We do this 3 times a week. Forgot to shake my pen here, but we do this 3 times a week. Wednesdays, Sundays, and Fridays. This is the Sunday show. And I just tried to put some fluorescent ink on that didn't work, so I'm gonna have to take a look at this marker here, but I'm gonna leave those be. Leave this be. Call it good. So there's our first sketch, some snub-nosed, sporty-looking car. Charlie says, good effort, Spencer. I have a black car to see his reference, and it's interesting the amount of reflection you can see on a dark, glossy surface. That's true. I mean, if I were being, like, if this were in an environment, you'd probably see, you know, some sort of tree things or just lots of different things in here. So, yes, it is certainly interesting how much you see in a reflective surface, you know, whether it's people or trees or whatever the case may be. You do get a lot of that. So like I was saying, something I could probably work on a bit more, particularly, and I wasn't looking at reference for this, so just kind of leaning on my own experiences, and just trying to replicate what I've seen before. So that's why I say it's important to draw from observation, so you can draw from your imagination and create a reasonably decent representation of something that might be real. Because the goal here is not to replicate, but to communicate, particularly if it's a concept of some sort. Yeah, I can't stop. It's a forever sketch. Every now and then we have one of those, but I'm super happy with it.